The Assembly will hear a statement by His Excellency Sher Bahadur Deuba, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal. May I request protocol to escort His Excellency. I have great pleasure in welcoming the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal, His Excellency Sher Bahadur Deuba, and I invite him to address the General Assembly.
Mr. President, I bring warm greetings from the people and government of Nepal, the land of Lord Buddha and Mount Everest, to the delegates and best wishes for the success of this session. I congratulate you, Mr. President, on your election to the presidency of the 72nd session of the UN General Assembly. I pledge full support in the discharge of your important responsibility. I also wish to place on record our appreciation to your predecessors, Ambassador Peter Thompson of Fiji, for his sterling leadership. I warmly congratulate His Excellency Antonio Guterres on his appointment as the Secretary General of the United Nations. We extend best wishes and full support to him, including his reform efforts to make our organization fit for purpose. I also commend his predecessor Ban Ki-moon for his dynamic leadership of the organization. Mr. President, it has been almost 2 decades since I first addressed from this podium. In decades that followed, the world has witnessed profound transformation. While there are some notable achievements in poverty reduction, school enrollment, gender equality, and combating communicable diseases, it is not without the multiple complex challenges. The world has become more better. The world has become more interdependent and better connected. Growing interdependence and pluralism have unleashed both challenges and opportunities. A big geopolitical transformation is in the making. The rise of inward-looking tendency in some of the nation-states, marked by the tide of pluralism on the both left and the right, have created confusion over the course of world politics. Global community faces a more complex and polarized environment with multiple transnational challenges ranging from terrorism, climate change, energy deficiency, food insecurity, and mass migration to extremism. Ethnic tension and intra-state conflict have taken toll on millions of innocent lives. The suffering of people in Syria, Iraq, Libya, and Yemen are not abated. Unfortunately, our efforts have been too little and often too late. All these challenges reinforce the role and responsibility of the United Nations. Mr. President, we embark upon a path of implementing 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Such challenges are litmus tests for our leadership. The choice of the theme for our deliberation at this assembly, focusing on people striving for peace and decent life for all on a sustainable planet, provided a clear direction ahead. Path to peace and decent life for all will remain elusive without resources and commitment for the implementation of sustainable development goals. Delivery on commitment, inclusive process, coordinated effort, and shared responsibilities backed by the adequate resources, are essential to secure sustainable future and ensure that no one is left behind. Mr. President, the vicious race for weapons of mass destruction continues to threaten the world. Nepal calls for a time-bound, general and complete disarmament. Nepal welcomes the confidence-building measure on the conventional weapon ending nearly 2 decades of stalemate in the UN Disarmament Commission. Nepal has signed the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons as a step forward nuclear disarmament. Nepal deplores the continued defiance by DPRK for the repeated call of the UN Security Council and the international community. We urge DPRK to abide by all the relevant resolutions of the UN Security Council. We believe this alone safeguards peace and promotes stability in the Korean Peninsula. As the most and regional center for peace and disarmament for Asia Pacific, Nepal underlined the need to reactivate the regional disarmament deliberations under the Kathmandu process. Terrorism is a curse to humanity and the biggest threat to democracy and development. Nepal condemns terrorism in all its forms and manifestations anywhere in the world. The world must come together to address not just its symptom, but its causes. Early conclusion of Anti-Terrorism Global Convention is the call of our time. Having contributed over 130,000 peacekeepers in some of the most challenging theaters and true to our commitment to the success of UN peace operations, Nepal remains prepared to provide additional troops and civilians for this noble cause. Nepal has been a host to a world peacekeeping training center, the oldest one in the region. United Nations can make the best use of this facility and help develop it as a regional center of excellence for peacekeeping training. Nepal firmly believes that all troops and the police contributing countries must get fair opportunities to serve the leadership position both in the field and at the headquarters, commensurate with their level and length of contributions. Protection of civilians should be at the center of peacekeeping operations. Nepal believes that the safety and security of the peacekeeper is the key to enhance their ability to deliver from the high moral ground. On sexual exploitation and abuse, we must move from zero tolerance to zero cause scenario. It is in this spirit Nepal endorsed the Kigali Principle in its entirety and signed Secretary General's voluntary compact on the elimination of sexual exploitation and abuse. The Constitution of Nepal accommodates aspirations of all its citizens. It guarantees a comprehensive set internationally recognized human rights and fundamental freedoms. We fully committed to the promotion and protection of these rights and their full enjoyment by our people. The Constitution establishes powerful commissions to promote and protect rights and interests, especially to women, Dalit, Muslim, Madhesis, indigenous people, and other disadvantaged communities. The National Human Rights Commission, an independent constitutional body, is responsible for overall monitoring of the human rights situation and investigation into the cases of their violation. Nepal views right to life as the most important of all human rights. Nepal's constitution bans death penalty in all circumstances. As a party to 24 international human rights instruments, including 7 out of 9 core instruments, Nepal has been fulfilling its international obligation with all sincerity to the best of its ability. Against this backdrop, Nepal has presented its candidature to the Human Rights Council for the term of 2018 to 2020. Nepal's first ever election to the Council would be the recognition of our long commitment and contribution to the field of human rights and encouragement to do more at national as well as global levels. We seek valuable support of all the member states of Nepal's candidature. Nepal calls for concerted efforts at the national, regional, and international level to ensure that the migration process creates a fair and win-win situation to all. We call for safety, security, dignity, and well-being of all migrant workers. Although not a party to Refugee Convention and its protocol, Nepal has earnestly upheld humanitarian principle by hosting thousands of refugees. Protection of minority, their rights make the world more humane and contribute to the world peace and stability. Forced eviction of citizens is a grave crime against humanity. We call upon the international community to respond responsibly and act decisively for refugees' right to return to their homeland in safety and dignity and rapid rehabilitation under all circumstances. Mr. President, the cost of natural disasters is rising sharply in terms of human tragedy and devastation. We call for the greatest global cooperation and coordination in prevention, mitigation, and recovery. The trauma of Nepal earthquake 2015 has not subsided yet. The post-disaster reconstruction is going. We thank our neighbors, development partners, our friendly countries, and UN family for their generous support in our construction drive. Poor and vulnerable countries disproportionately suffer from climate change despite their negligible role in greenhouse gas emissions. The implementation of Paris Agreement should be done in synergy with the 2030 agenda. Mr. President, LDCs are the most vulnerable group of countries. They cannot be perennially equated and dehumanizing condition of poverty and underdevelopment. They must be enabled to smoothly and sustainably graduate to their early date. The cost of doing trade is higher to the LDCs than the coastal countries. Development of the multimodal transport infrastructure and unhindered transit rights of landed nations are critical to their sustainable development. We call for full implementation of the Istanbul Programme of Action, Vienna Programme of Action, Addis Ababa Action Agenda in full synergy and coherence with the 2030 agenda. The essence of Nepal's foreign policy is Panchashila, 5 principles of peaceful coexistence that are derived from teaching of Lord Buddha and the enlightened son of Nepal. These principles serve the foundation of managing harmonious relations among the nations in this time of increasing uncertainty and turmoil. We believe in non-alignment in exercise of our independent foreign policy. We judge every issue on its merit without fear and favor. We consider regional cooperation an important means for building trust and confidence among the nation and making the best use of complementarities for shared prosperity. Connectivity remains at the core of deeper integration and for creating a win-win situation. Nepal firmly believes in the indispensability of the United Nations in multilateral affairs and global governance. All countries, particularly major powers, have the responsibility to contribute to the global good by fulfilling obligations and responsibilities. The Security Council reform is long overdue. Under-representation of developing countries must be addressed in recognition of their growing contribution in sharing global agenda. Reform must be inclusive and representative in structure, transparent and efficient in procedure, and accountable and effective in delivery. The Secretary General's reform proposal are a step forward. We believe a clear statement support the member states, such as the declaration made earlier this week, help make our organization fit for purpose. Any repositioning the UN development agenda should address gap, build synergy, and improve the accountability, steering clear from the politicization of development under any guise. Nepal supports revitalization exercise of the UN General Assembly for streamlining its function and ensuring fair gender and geographical representation at the higher union position, among others. Mr. President, before concluding, I would like to share some insight into Nepal's recent development. Nepal's transition to democracy from a decade-long armed conflict through peaceful means demonstrate the power and promises of dialogue and negotiation over the peril of violent methods for political power. The national peace process that began in 2006 concluded with the promulgation of the Democratic Inclusive Constitution in 2015 through a popularly elected Constitutional Assembly. This unique peace process was homegrown and nationally driven. Its successful conclusion has firmly established a culture of dialogue and accommodation and could serve as the model for similar situations elsewhere. We appreciate the support and understanding provided by the international community. Proportional representation of all sections of our society is the core of Nepal's inclusive democracy. Recent local level elections have firmly established women's role in politics, and the Constitution guarantees 40% of women representation at the local level and 1/3 of the federation and provincial parliaments. After a successful local level election held 20 years, the dates have been announced for the provincial and federal parliament in 2 months' time from now. The ongoing transitional justice process combines our international commitment and ground reality of delivering justice and sustaining peace. To conclude, Mr. President, let me reiterate Nepal's profound commitment to the principles and purposes of the United Nations. United Nations is made a big and small nations. Vast majority of the UN membership comes from the smaller countries confirming the universalities and legitimacy of the world body. An edifice for a peaceful, stable, rule-based and just world order cannot be erected without addressing their genuine concern for security, development and well-being. We believe small nations have been sincere and serious in discharging their responsibilities as members of this body. Even with their negligible economic and security resources, they have been playing constructive role under the aegis of the UN, promoting peace, security, and cooperation under the most difficult circumstances in various parts of the world. I would like to recall the wise words of Bibi Koirala, the first elected Prime Minister of Nepal, who told the 15th session of this August Assembly in 1960, and I quote, "Our physical strength may be negligible, but our moral strength, if we are true to ourselves and to the people of whom we speak, may be great," end quote. This statement is relevant today as it was then. Let us collectively display wisdom, knowledge, and capacity to address the pressing issues of peace, security, disarmament, and sustainable development with due respect to the internationally accepted rule to ensure the safe and stable world order. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal for his statement, and I request protocol to escort His Excellency. The Assembly will hear a statement by His Excellency.